In terms of this roster, though, where are they going to get that experience from, right? There's that other angle of that. There's the other angle of like who's the veteran, who's going to be that player perhaps that these young players look to, both on, off, and off the pitch. There's a level of learning that takes place, yes, like on the pitch, but there's other things with that come into play when you're learning to be a professional, right? So who's that going to be? And they did make a trade for somebody like a Jessica McDonald, right? But this is going to be her first season with this club specifically. So she is somebody that they can go to, for advice or for leadership by example in terms of navigating the world as a professional. But I think in terms of an essential like experienced player for Racing Louisville specifically, they probably will be leaning on somebody like Gemma Bonner. This is someone who was part of this team during their inaugural season, still has the memories, right? Those they're still fresh, those fresh memories of having to go through a real grind of a season in 2021. And she's also someone that has similar experiences to McDonald in that, being playing at an international level, right? As alongside being someone who is a reliable player for clubs. So I absolutely think when it comes to that essential experience player that Racing Louisville is going to need to lean into or lean on, it's going to be Gemma Bonner for 2022.
It needs to be defender Gemma Bonner. The English international has so much experience, and she was there last year. I mean, Jess Mcdonald can only do so much she's been in the league since its first season in 2013, and she's been with an expansion side technically in North Carolina. She started when North Carolina started in the NWSL back in 2017, but this is a second year for Racing Louisville. They didn't have the best season last year. Jess Mcdonald is also at a different point in her career than she was in 2017, and that changes things. So it needs to be Gemma Bonner, especially as a defender. She can help lead and organize in the back line. She has so much experience. If she can find that relationship with all these young draft picks, though, right? Like sometimes it's a little bit harder to relate to someone that is 10 years older than you, Bonner being a 30-year-old veteran in this league. But she needs to be able to make those connections and do that. So yeah, they're going to be leaning on a young player in Jalen Howe and also Gemma Bonner to step up and kind of grab this team by the reins and see who can take control of it.
In terms of an international spotlight for this team, we mentioned in prior previews that this season is going to be full of all different types of World Cup qualifier events that all teams in some capacity could potentially be impacted by that. So maybe we could still see somebody like Bonner, right, in this role as well. Potentially having to deal with absences from the team for international duty. But we're also going to be keeping an eye on Emily Fox, right? Another one of these players, these young players for this roster, going into her second season as a professional, earned a Rookie of the Year nomination for NWSL. So she was somebody that I know a lot of Racing Louisville fans were keeping their eye on and were excited about to help build around this type of player, at her outside back position. And similar to Howell, is a player who has been getting more looks at the United States women's national team senior level at that outside back position. So there is a potential that we will see Emily Fox, right, in this sort of international spotlight moving forward in a 2022 season that will have international windows and will have varying World Cup qualifying events, which, missing pieces from this roster throughout the season, on top of having a lot of new faces that are going to try to establish chemistry as best they can. The combination of those two things is probably what's going to lead us to our biggest burning question, right, for this team ahead of the 2022 season. And it's just simply, can this team improve on last year? This is a team, again, 9th place at the time, second to last place in the league. Can they improve on a standing this year? Now with 12 teams in place, will they find themselves lower than they were last year? Or will they find themselves in a way to, go ahead and break through, and shock the league, quite frankly?
There's a lot that could potentially be holding Racing Louisville down in terms of the bottom of the standings, in terms of their ability to play this year, going up now against 11 teams in the NWSL, adding two expansion clubs that have a lot of depth, a lot of experience, a lot of power in the front office. And also they're so young. And I know we've harped on that throughout this preview, but they really are. They don't know what it's like. And the naivety may actually help Racing Louisville in those moments when they're going up against big players, against big powerhouse teams in Portland Thorns that is traditionally top of the league standings, against a Washington Spirit that won the league last year. They could have players that are just going out there to have fun and play soccer. So it's improving upon last year is the biggest question. Now, I don't necessarily think they're going to jump 10 places in the standings and finish at a top 2 spot, but improving upon last year means every single game getting better, whether it's staying consistent on the ball, scoring more goals than they did last year. I think that's something that they could really improve on. Maybe conceding less goals than they did last year, keeping the goal margins tighter throughout matches, staying in games longer. There's so many different nuances that Racing Louisville can write on their whiteboard and say, this is our goal for this week, for this month, for this year, and this season. And overall, it's just, can they improve day by day, score a little bit more, get these young players experience, and who knows, maybe at the end of 22, we'll be really pleased with what Racing Louisville has done, but can they improve?
We'll see. That's the biggest burning question for us ahead of the 2022 season, which honestly maybe makes our projected finish for 2022 a little bit difficult in that aspect, if that is also our burning question. Hit me with a range, Lisa. Are you putting an actual number on it, or we're looking more at a range for a projected finish for this team?
It's so hard to put a specific number on it because I want these young players to come in and just like wrecking ball.
Yeah,
do what
right.
they can. I want to be proved wrong every single time we do these predictions when I have to do this. But a range, I mean, out of playoff contention, and even the bottom of that playoff contention, if the top 6 teams make the postseason in the NWSL, I see Racing Louisville maybe between like an 8 and 11, 8 and 12 being the bottom portion, the bottom fifth of this table. That's where I see them. If they get to eighth spot, that's a big improvement upon last year. That's a huge improvement upon last year, being second to last.
It's a step up. It would be a step up, right?
It's a huge step up. I mean, in that sense, they're jumping 4 spots all the way up to 8th place. So I'll give it like 8 to 12.
I don't think that's unfair, right? You know, I mean, I think that'll be the biggest thing, right? I'm going to be looking for, in terms of a projected finish, like even if it is somewhere in this bottom half range, I'm going to be looking for, you know, strong individual performances, right? There's a lot of new faces on this team. We've been talking about it the whole time. So that means there's going to be real opportunity here, right? And when there's opportunity, you're going to be looking for those strong individual performances. So that's what I'm going to be looking for sure when it comes to this team in 2022. I hope everyone else is going to keep an eye on Racing Louisville as well, just to see if the kids can play.